Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone podcast. My name is Kathy. Yesterday, April 18th, 2025, we reported that Judge Stephen J. Hippler issued a sweeping order memorializing his verbal or oral rulings from the bench on various motions in limine that were rendered back at oral argument on April 9th, 2025. I want to go through each of these motions in limine, the rulings, in order to provide you with some further details as to the court's findings. The first that I want to address with you is the defendant's motion in limine number 4, which dealt with the use of the terms psycho or socio and add path to the end of that. It states here, bottom of page 2 of the April 18th order, defendant moves to exclude any reference to these terms at trial, arguing it is unfairly prejudicial under IRE 403 and improper opinion testimony under IRE 702. These are two rules of evidence, IRE 403 and 702, ladies and gentlemen, governing what evidence is appropriate to bring into the jury trial. The order continues, the state does not intend to use these terms at trial. Indeed, the terms, according to the judge, are irrelevant given the lack of evidence defendant has been diagnosed with a personality disorder or similar mental illness, going on to page 3. And this is specifically in reference to these two terms. The court's finding this to be a medical condition, and there's no evidence in the record that he was ever diagnosed with them, in other words. Continuing on page 3, according to Judge Hippler, their use would also be highly prejudicial. The state is not to use these terms or the equivalents at the guilt phase of the trial. That's the case in chief, ladies and gentlemen. That's the case that will start on August 11th, 2025, when the state will be tasked with presenting evidence that beyond a reasonable doubt evidentiary standard of guilt according to the 5 charges that Mr. Kohberger is facing per the indictment that was entered back on May 16th, 2023. You can read the indictment by going onto the record and looking it up. Again, it was dated May 16th, 2023. It will provide you with the 5 charges that he is facing and will stand trial on, that he is considered innocent at every stage of the proceeding, up to and including the time of the guilt or case in chief part of the trial, until or unless that jury returns verdicts finding him guilty. The other instance would be if he were to plead guilty voluntarily. I want to go back to page 3 of this order, and this concludes. If, however, the state believes the door has been opened to allow the use of such terms, it shall raise the matter in advance outside the presence of the jury. So this means if during the trial that the state finds that there's some sort of evidence, for example, that is now, as the court said, open the door to using these terms, well, what they have to do before they use them is to bring it to the court's attention outside of the presence of the jury, and then there would be a ruling at that time. Otherwise, this motion has been granted, so we see a successful ruling in favor of the defense as it relates to motion in limine number 4. This will now conclude this episode of the Indie Zone podcast. My name's Kathy. Thank you for joining us here today.